In a number of spiritual paths, your deeper questions might find answers in a session in the pastor's study. You're looking for something more, so let's offer you something different. Merry meet, blessed be. Welcome to yet another session in a very different pastor study. And today I'm going to offer, I like to call it a modest proposal, and a challenge. I like modest proposals. I've been known to write a few interesting ones. Basically, comes from a certain English author who wrote a modest proposal. Basically, in light of the way that the English were treating the Irish, his modest proposal was to raise Irish as a food crop. He got the point across. Well, this modest proposal is a little bit more modest, but I'm going to begin by pointing out some history. Our history. Pagans, Wiccans, Gnostics, those of us who have been outside of the, shall we say, spiritual mainstream of the Western world for the last couple thousand years. What's one of the ways that we survived? By being able to do things for people. When you look in some of the ancient texts, the Havamal is one of my favorites. And the Heimskringla, and the various sagas, Njal's saga, Egil's saga, and you read about the people who have special gifts, special knowledges. Case in point, the ones that they talk about as the wise women. You get sick, you get injured, they're the ones you see. And there were others. One particular wood carver is not known by name, but he is known. They call him the academician. Why? Because of the depth of knowledge that his wood carvings show. Particularly in one particular ship that was a royal barge many years ago. That's in a museum now. Offering things to people. Especially when there was no other way. Or at least the other way was not as trustworthy, not as reliable. When they had wise women, they also had doctors. And how much did the doctors really know? But the wise women knew. So we've got a proud tradition there. We used it to be able to thrive. There were people who would be protected because their neighbors had no idea what they could do, possibly do without them. At least until somebody wanted the woman's land or something like that. But it was a pretty good bargaining chip. Now, if that was a way to survive, could it also be a way to thrive? Here we are. We have something to offer. Your own can't or won't. Can we help you? And also taking care of our own. I'm going to give you an idea of what's mulling around in my mind. Because I've been offered an opportunity, and I'm not going to go into it. No, not yet. I will soon enough. But I see in it an opportunity to fix something. I can imagine what it's like to be in the military and deployed overseas and basically have to do without any kind of spiritual help. I know because I've been there. Ubon Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand. That was what, 1974? Yeah, 1974. February. I arrived there as a young lieutenant, and I was an Episcopalian at the time. Now the problem with being an Episcopalian is you're not a Protestant and you're not a Catholic. So you don't fit in either place. There are a few Episcopal chaplains in the Air Force. Some of them even remember that they're Episcopalians and occasionally do give a communion service. Some of them give a communion service regularly. And a few too many of them just sort of become general Protestants. But we didn't have any of them at Ubon. Newcomer's orientation. Here comes the chaplain, a Lieutenant Colonel Catholic priest. And he gives his little routine and he asks for questions, and he talked about what there is for the Protestants, what there is for the Catholics, what there is for the Mormons, what there is for the Jews. And I asked, what can an Episcopalian have? And he said, Carrata's 250 miles away. They've got a chaplain there. And he laughed. A few months later, they started drawing down Ubon. And so I was reassigned to Utapao. Ubon is way up in the north of Thailand. Utapao is down south, right on the Gulf. As a matter of fact, it had a very nice beach. And it also had an Episcopal chaplain, a really good one, I thought. And a very nice Episcopal community. And what made it especially wonderful was that we got along so well with the Catholics that sometimes you really had a hard time telling who is who. One particular Catholic chaplain, I still consider him a friend, a very dear friend. And the funny thing was, he and I are from the same hometown, Portland, Oregon. So it was like going from a starvation situation to a feast. And I feasted spiritually. And I also got an idea in my mind that something had to be done for the spiritually starving, the spiritually hungry. I came back to the States, made this proposal in a few places, and got ignored in some places and laughed at in some others. And nobody wanted to approve me towards ordination. Well, guess what? I'm ordained now. And now I can do something. And now I'm going to do something. And I'm going to figure out some ways of letting people know, for instance, that if you don't have a group there, you can join a group in cyberspace. The group that Temple of Gaia has. I may take that, as a matter of fact, I think I will take that even further. So don't be surprised if you see some changes here. Don't be surprised if you see a few new things. Don't be surprised if you find yourself saying, "Oh man, what is that guy thinking of? What's he doing?" Well, I had enough run-ins with certain folks. I found where I was welcomed, where I am welcome, and I'm still welcome. And you know what? I'm going to see what I can do. This is something that I think I can do, and I hope it'll help. And I'm gearing up for it even as we speak. So, I am willing to say each and every one of us has something to offer. What do you? I told you mine and where it came from. What do you have? Go ahead and try. Some try and succeed. Some try and don't necessarily succeed. Some succeed finally after they tried a few times, like me. At least I'm looking at this as a success. We're going to be. But I don't have much to say for people who don't who don't try. Especially if they do have something that they could offer. I was given a major challenge once, and somebody asked how I would feel if it didn't work. If something, if such and such a thing happened, which was the absolute last thing that I wanted to have happen. And it did happen. But the question was, how would I feel if that did happen? And my answer was, not nearly as bad as I would feel if I didn't try. You could call that your daily challenge. I might, blessed be. Uriel's Gifts and the Secrets in Plain Sight are sponsored by the Temple of Gaia. At Temple of Gaia, we don't train you to our path. We show you how to find and pursue your own path. Above all, we tried to provide a great place to come together and to share. We're located in Collingdale, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and wherever cyberspace can be reached. To learn more, visit our website at templeofgaiainc.org or our meeting place in cyberspace at templeofgaia.ning.com. Thank you for coming. Feel free to return at any time. We intend to always have something for you here. Blessed be. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.